40 FBI agents went to Ferguson to investigate this case at the behest of Eric Holder, who showed up almost immediately after it happened. I think it's fair to assume that they really believed that they were going to be able to indict Officer Wilson, that he had acted wrongly.
No, I don't think that that's. I don't think that that's absolutely not true. Not true. Don't just say that.
No. You're just saying plenty of things. So let me just throw one thing out. The FBI agents went down there. Eric Holder went down there.
To indict Darren Wilson? Darren Wilson? No way. You know how the system works. These cops get off every single time.
All right, that's Jason Pollock again, getting into it last night on Fox with Martha McCallum. If you didn't get a chance to hear that whole interaction, then I saved you. Because by the end of it, he was screaming at her. Just to give you, I wanted to give you a glimpse of just how unhinged this guy is. I've got a soundbite here where he draws the whole thing back to Donald Trump. I just want you to understand what a left-wing nut Jason Pollock truly is, to put in perspective what he's tried to dredge up in Ferguson again. Welcome into the Mark Cox Show. Glad that you're with us today. We're going to get to more on this story simply because there is more than enough evidence out there today to completely refute anything this guy's trying to do. But he has successfully talked the mainstream media in this country into giving him countless hours of promotion for his worthless documentary that's about to come out. He went to a film festival with it. He's about to debut it. They've just played right into his hands. So we're going to get to more on that in just a couple of minutes. We're going to talk about this CBO score today. We've got a spokesman from the White House who's going to join us here on the show a little later this hour, along with Christopher Arp, so stick around for that. Later today, we're going to talk about Prop P, which, of course, is the proposition that's on the ballot that would raise $80 million for supposedly to support law enforcement in the St. Louis area. There's some people that have some differing opinions on that. We're going to get them on the show and let them kick it around. All of that. First of all, Liz, let's get to the short list, please.
The short list brought to you by Bill Thomas Camper Sales. Find your camper at btcamper.com.
The main victim of this very partisan obstruction is the American public.
They should abolish the Congressional Budget Office. It is corrupt. It is dishonest. It was totally wrong on Obamacare by huge, huge margins.
I think that Bernie Sanders is now the intellectual, ideological, driving force of the Democrat Party.
You tell him Stuart Varney. There's Stuart Varney on the Fox yesterday, and I believe that he's right. I do. We'll talk more about that, though, as the day goes on. Back to this Jason Pollock character. Didn't matter which media outlet they put him on last night, and I think he was on all of them at some point nationally. Even gets on CNN, which is, of course, going to be welcoming to his point of view in a lot of ways. And he says this about his video where he claims that the interaction at the Ferguson market with Mike Brown was a drug deal. He wasn't trying to rob the place, that they owed him those cigarillos for what he did at 1 a.m. Listen to this interaction last night.
You know, of editing the video, manipulating the video. Sure. This attorney for the Ferguson market. Hang on. Let me just finish. This is what the attorney from the store says.
I know what he said.
I can now, let me tell everyone else who's watching, I can now confirm that the uncut video shows the clerks throwing bag back to Mike Brown. The filmmaker edited it out. We're supposed to see, apparently, their full video later today. I have no idea what that's going to show. If it shows
video.
There isn't another video.
There isn't another. Bring it on. Bring it on, Jay. Bring it on.
So that's Jason Pollock kind of telling Jay Kanzler to bring it on. Jay Kanzler, the attorney for the Ferguson market, is our guest at this hour. Jay, welcome into the program.
Thank you so much, Mark. My pleasure to be on.
Absolutely. Enjoyed your interviews last night in the local media where you showed this video and you explained exactly what was going on. But I wanted to give you an opportunity for my listeners to hear it directly from you.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. This guy has obviously edited down to 20 seconds, something that was almost 4 minutes in length. And I'm just going to let you kind of explain what you see going on at this store in that video.
Sure. And I think that's the key, is that this was a deceptive video, edited deceptively. I think on CNN he told, them the other night, last night, that this video had not been edited. All you have to do is compare the two. He took 4 parts of a 4-minute interaction and then attached this outrageous story to it. That's just not true. And if you watch the video, you can see a couple of things here. The idea was that there was an exchange of marijuana for merchandise. Well, if you watch the video, you can see that he throws the marijuana up there. And then there's about a 30 to 45-second heated argument where the clerk says, no, he's shaking his head. He's motioning him to get out of the store. He's not going to take a bag of skunk weed or whatever else Michael Brown had in exchange for merchandise. So Michael Brown then says, fine, I'm just leaving, and he grabs the merchandise. The clerk yells, says, hey, bring it back. You didn't pay for it. Michael Brown turns around, puts it back on the counter, and he picks up that bag, whatever it was, marijuana, whatever, and he picks it back up. And as you watch him leave the store, look at both of his hands. He's carrying something in both hands. The key to this video, in terms of what he walks out with, and that's the marijuana in his hand, is he walks in with a piece of paper. He's always got the piece of paper, a white piece of paper in his hand. When he's leaving the store that night, he has the white piece of paper in one hand and the bag of marijuana in the other hand. There's no exchange unless you left something behind, and he didn't because the store said no. No, no, no. Now, the other thing that the true video shows is that if this were a layaway plan, as Jason Pollock suggests, first of all, he never mentions the soda. Who puts a soda on layaway, let alone cigarillos?
Right.
But when Michael Brown leaves with the marijuana, they then unpack the bag. Okay, and they restock the product. They put the cigarillos back up on the shelf. They take the sodas back to the counter. If he was coming back for that, you take the bag, you put it off to the side, and you say, Michael Brown's. Now, one last point. The filmmaker, and I think Leslie McSpadden, suggests that this was a friendship that their son had with the owners. He had never been in the store before, or if he had been, it had been one time. And nobody can look at this video and the body language, although there's no audio, the body language, the arguing that's going on, and think this was a friendly transaction between friends. It was nothing like that.
Well, clearly he's got a motivation in this film. He claims that he came to St. Louis and lived here for 2 years to try to dig up video that's been available for, 24 months now? Right. I think October of 2014.
In August. And, the Brown family has had the uncut video since at least October of 2016.
And it's taken him that long to piece together an alternative version of the facts here. Your client at Ferguson Market was the victim at the beginning of this entire incident, and yet they're trying to make him out to be, Mike Brown is the victim. I don't get that.
I think he would even go as far as to say, this filmmaker, that Ferguson would not have happened but for, this misunderstanding. It would be, between Michael Brown and the owners, that he was just coming back the next day to pick up his layaway. Listen, whatever happened at Ferguson Market had nothing to do with what happened on Canfield. And we can all agree or disagree, and we can have our feelings about what happened on Canfield in the shooting. But what we shouldn't have any disagreement about is what happened to the store. There was no drug deal. He says he spent 2 years here. You would think in that 2-year period of time, if he wanted to make this bold revelation, that's what documentary filmmakers do. They search out the truth, they gather evidence, and then they present it. He never once talked to the clerks. He never once talked to the owners. He never once talked to me. I can, with a straight face, speculate as to what happened on that film. if I never go out and search for the truth.
Right.
If I go and ask the question and find out that nothing happened, that the marijuana was given back, that he carried it out the door, well, I can't with a straight face, make that assertion anymore. And that's what he did. He didn't want to ask because he didn't want to know the answer.
Well, and the other thing about it is he's drugged through the mud the reputation of everybody on that video that he showed,
Absolutely.
including the store owner.
Folks. Yeah, these are folks that, it's 1:30 in the morning. They're just doing their job, okay? It's not glamorous work, okay? And they're young men trying to make a living, and now all of a sudden they're made out to be drug dealers. And he's put their lives at risk. He's put the police officers' lives at risk, also that he can have his 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, all about self-promotion. I would agree completely. Jay Kanzler, thanks so much for your time today.
You bet, Mark.
I appreciate it. Take care of yourself. Jay Kanzler, the attorney for the Ferguson market. And Liz, if you don't mind, I want to get to the soapbox here, please. Thank you.
Now, Mark Cox Soapbox.
Can I just say this, please? Plug your ears if you got kids in the car. This Jason Pollock character is an asshat. That's what he is. He is a self-promoting Michael Moore protege with an agenda bigger than Michael Moore's rear end. And that's saying something. Now, you need no further proof than that clip I played you earlier from his crazy attack on Martha McCallum last night. This is the saddest part to me. 30 months after the death of Michael Brown and the shooting that ripped apart the Ferguson community, this attention whore has ripped open those wounds again for nothing other than his own gain. That's what this is about. The same people who swallowed the hands up, don't shoot, lie, hook, line, and sinker 30 months ago are taking the bait again. As the example of that is the arrest they had to make the other night. A police officer got injured in Ferguson with people who showed up to protest. Listen, people. If you have started to believe what Jason Pollock says here, don't do it. Educate yourself. Go online and watch the video. It's available everywhere. The full video of what happened in that store. I did. I watched it from every angle, just like Jay Kanzler was talking about. There was no drug deal. No drugs changed hands. If whatever was in that packet was pot, and it was offered to these store employees, they clearly rejected it. They pushed it back across the counter to him. Like Jay says, the kid brings 2 drinks up. I'm surprised they're not claiming it was an iced tea and Skittles like the Trayvon Martin case, but he brings 2 drinks up to the counter, and the guy turns around and gets 2 boxes of cigarillos, which Mike Brown then tried to steal. They yelled at him. He returned to the counter, handed it back to him, took his little packet of whatever it was, and he walked out. And you can see him mouthing things at them as he walked out. There was no drug deal. You can watch the employees on the video returning the goods to the shelves. They restocked the cigarillos, and they restocked the sodas in the cooler. They weren't waiting for Mike Brown to come back and get those. There was no deal. Strange Fruit, which is the name of this documentary by Jason Pollock, is not a documentary. Documentaries deal in facts. This is a shameless self-promotion of a mockumentary. Michael Moore made this genre famous with Fahrenheit 9/11. Al Gore perfected it with an inconvenient truth which was inconveniently false, although many of your school children were forced to watch it by their liberal teachers. Is Florida underwater yet? No. This is the definition of fake news. Don't buy the garbage Jason Pollock is selling. I'm telling you.